The show obviously can't be on YouTube because Ian said people have died from the C-19 thing, and Hannah Claire followed up with that V thing wasn't safe.
Yesterday, Wednesday, May 8th, Timcast IRL, Tim made the decision to pull the show. And I have the full transcript of the uncensored version. Go to timcast.com, support him. And how do we know when you look at YouTube and the videos they got taken down, who would benefit from videos getting taken down for Tim? What would that do? That would make Tim more likely, more concerned about his product, more concerned about protecting his assets, and more likely to go to a company like Daily Wire.
Middle MAGA.
I was sitting down with Jeremy Boring 2 years ago.
This is a very big point. Let's bring this back. This is, for me at least, breaking news.
Because the real issue is you cannot run a mom and pop company at a certain level. You know, I was sitting down with Jeremy Boring 2 years ago. And, he's like, we'll give you a bunch of money if you come to the Daily Wire. And I was like, we make a bunch of money already. We make a lot of money and you're like, I'm rich. I don't think you can make the money. And I said, look, we like to do things weird. And he's like, no, you're right. He's like, I totally understand. That's what we were doing when we had 50 employees. He's like, now we have 300 and we can't do that anymore. And he's like, and I think you'll realize that too. And I was like, I know you're right, Jeremy. I'm not stupid. You're completely right. And I was like, we'll see what happens when I get to that wall, when I get to that point. Because every company goes through it. You get to a certain point where you're like...
Okay, let's stop right there. That is... Now I don't think he's ever, that I've heard, ever acknowledged it to that specific. We know it's not a surprise because they had the Steven Crowder episode, and that's what Tim was talking about. We all know that's what Tim was talking about, Daily Wire, his negotiations. But he just said it flat out here. He said, I was sitting down with Jeremy Boring 2 years ago, and Jeremy Boring was like, we'll give you a bunch of money if you come to the Daily Wire. And that's what I've been saying obviously happened, and what's definitely on the table now, allegedly, is money from the Daily Wire. And what does the Daily Wire do? Their primary goal is to espouse the beliefs, the ideology of Israel in a Zionist manner. That is their number one goal. Everyone, including Matt Walsh, follows that goal. They don't cross that goal. If you cross that goal, you're gone. We know that for sure. So now you see what they do. They looking at scooping up Tim. Tim, as you get bigger, you're going to need more infrastructure, and your HR and all that will take some headaches away from you, Tim. You might have to cut some staff, but we'll get you over here. We'll get you protected. You'll be a good little Zionist for us. If Tim has to make that decision, I don't blame him at all. This is not a diss to Tim. I'm taking this off to the Daily Wire. Evidence for what I was saying the goal of the Daily Wire is, of the Wilkes brothers, the goal of PragerU, the goal. Nick just posted on X, one of the people that works high up for PragerU was over in that country 7,000 miles away with their version of the NSA. Worked for their version of the NSA, running things with the PragerU here. It's once you start noticing, you can't stop noticing. So you don't have to be J-Team. It's, are you with the Zionists? Are you a Zionist? If Tim Pool had anything close to my take on that country 7,000 miles away, Jeremy Boring wouldn't go to him for a bag and say, hey, we'll give you a bag and handle the marketing and take the headaches off your plate. It's looking more attractive to Tim now. I'm guaranteeing you, though, he would have to cut. And when they say they want Tim, they probably just want Tim. I don't think they want anybody else, allegedly. Like when they said Steven Crowder, it wasn't Steven Crowder and company and the Pips. So that's the decision. And how do we know when you look at YouTube and the videos they got taken down, who would benefit from videos getting taken down for Tim? What would that do? That would make Tim more likely, more concerned about his product, more concerned about protecting his assets, and more likely to go to a company like Daily Wire. Did they do that? I've never accused them of such. Is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Yeah, I want to ask them the question directly. Jeremy Boring, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I want to ask you the question. Were you behind the scenes involved in any way, shape, or form of having Tim Pool's videos being pulled? It's a question. I know you're scared of questions, and that makes me want to ask you more. But regardless of that, Tim's in the situation. So who cares what the answer of the question is?
Want to do things, and we have the opportunity to expand in a positive and meaningful way. Like, we've got a coffee company, the coffee company's doing phenomenally, we're building a coffee shop, we are burning the midnight oil. And then at a certain point, you go corporate because you have to. You legally have to. At a certain amount of ploys, you have laws requiring you to do things, then you have insurance requirements, then you have, there's legal requirements in DI stuff you have to do. That's why so many companies are doing it, and people they don't get it. They say, I love the anti-Semitic people who are the Jews are doing it, and I'm like, dude, it's Democrats and Republicans and state senators and legislators pass civil rights.
Yeah, they're all in the pockets of Israel, though. What kind of take is that?
Laws, which have unintended consequences, which puts legal liability on you. And then you lose in court due to interpretations of laws that weren't supposed to be interpreted ways, because leftist activists are winning the culture war. I don't think they're winning the culture war now, but why is it that West Virginia allowed a male to compete against females and shot put? But West Virginia's base, why would they do that? Because the Supreme Court ruled that gender identity is sex as per the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So West Virginia's we're bound by court order. Supreme Court already ruled we cannot bar someone for doing this. If we do, we will be sued into oblivion. So we just do what the Supreme Court said we have to do. And the Supreme Court said that, 6 years ago or whatever? Or 5 years ago? You're saying that they put legal things on corporations when they get over a certain Ian Crossland size of Tim Pool employees? That's true too, but what I'm saying is the Supreme Court ruled that under the 1964 Civil Rights Act, sex protections confers to gender identity. That means West Virginia cannot bar a male who wants to be a female. The Supreme Court already ruled that. It's for the same reason if a church denies a gay wedding, they can get sued because the Supreme Court rulings on these things. So West Virginia then allows a male to compete against females. And everyone's like, oh, I'm so shocked. How is this happening?
Guys, the 1964 Civil Rights Act is one of the worst pieces of legislation that we've ever seen in our country. It is a disastrous piece of legislation. And what it's done is it allows whoever has political power to protect whatever group they want to protect. The only group of people that you could not protect, to my knowledge, I'm not a lawyer, you correct me if I'm wrong, go talk to a lawyer you respect, is political affiliation. That is the only group. I'm trying to think as if there's any other group. No, they could protect people who love animals, people for the equitable treatment of animals. They could protect people who like wood chopping. They could protect people who like skateboarding. They could protect people who are tall, fat, skinny, short, biological this that pretends to be that pretends to be a cat, that pretends to be a dog. It's just a matter of, do you have enough political power to put it in the act? That is a disastrous, asinine, unconstitutional, fascistic piece of legislation. It is awful. And that's what we're seeing right here. I think that's the end of the segments I'm going to cover on this. Let me know what you think. I just went on this for an hour with this transcript. It's that important to me. If you want to support this channel, it's very important for me to get emails at this point. That's probably the number one thing that I need, because obviously, you see, I'm not really holding back too much. I mean, I covered up the V and all that, but we're talking about topics that I don't know where the line is. Go to middlemaga.com, put your email in the top right. So if I get banned, it's just like with Tim Pool, he pulls his video, say his channel got pulled right now. How would you know? How would you get in contact with Tim? What if they pulled all his channels? See, you remember what happened with C3P Meme? They just pulled his channel. So it happened to Ray Studios. They could pull this channel now, and I have no way to contact anybody. They don't let you get email addresses. Locals does, but I appreciate it. Let me know what you think.
Middle MAGA.